Perfect. Well, hopefully we will just let everybody come in. Just give everybody a minute. Wonderful. Well, we might make a start on today's session. So first of all, I'd just like to say thank you for joining us. So my name's Laura and I'm the Health and Wellness Manager at Seven Insurance Broker. I'm delighted to welcome you to today's education session on supporting our teens' mental health in navigating the journey back to school. So as a parent myself, this is a topic, a daughter teen, and this is a topic that really resonates with me as well. So I can't wait to hear more. I'm proud to be partnering with Emily today, who will be very happy to jump on and to introduce herself. But just so you know, she is based here in Dubai and she has been doing sessions and working with adults and adolescents, teens and families for over 12 years. So she is a bundle of knowledge and knows exactly all the information that she needs to share with us today. So the session will run for about 45 minutes. It will be recorded, so you will have access to the recording afterwards. Please feel free to jump in and write your questions into the question and answer box, and we'll put them together and we'll answer them all at the end. So on that note, I'd like to say thank you again for joining, and I'm going to hand over to Emily and I will talk to you all at the end of the session. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you to everyone for being here today. It is my great pleasure and honor to be here today to hopefully provide you with some support and tips, strategies, and a little bit more tools so that you can feel better equipped to support your teen, your children, as we are transitioned back into this new school year, this new rhythm that is awaiting us. So today here's the overview for today. So we will be discussing some emotional and practical tools that you may be able to offer your children. We will also be discussing additional healthy ways to support them. We will also focus on communication and how to better communicate and how to make sure that the channel of communication is open, which is not always easy with our teens in particular. We will discuss what healthy versus unhealthy academic pressure looks like. We will also have a look at the signs, the symptoms that would maybe be that you could see in your children and that could be a cause for concern. Signs that would show that would reflect that they are maybe struggling with coping, and when it might be appropriate to seek professional help. And like Laura was saying, we will be having Q&A, so hopefully you will be able to ask the questions you have that are a little bit more specific to your own unique family reality. So here I am again, Emily. This is me. As Laura was saying, I have several years experience working with adults, families, children, couples as well. I see clients here in Dubai and abroad. I meet my clients online. I'm also available in person for sessions. And I use, my approach is very tailored to my client's needs. I integrate a variety of therapeutic approach depending on the needs and the challenges that my clients face. And my expertise is in stress management, anxiety treatment, trauma healing, attachment, relationships, identity, and adjustment. But I also work with clients who may struggle with all types of addictions, grief, etc. So it's very broad. Now, all right, so let's get into this. So there are lots of things, thankfully, lots of things that you can do to help your kids through this. So one of the things that I just always start with is we need to talk. We need to have a little talk about this and to acknowledge as a family that we are going through a transition, right? We just had nice summertime. Hopefully everyone had a nice holiday, a good time, enjoyed the lack of routine and the freedom to do whatever they want with their time. And now we're approaching a different type of chapter, right? The school year comes with different expectations, different times, different activities, different timing. So we need to acknowledge that and to just ask, I would say, like, ask ourselves first about, what we feel about it. Are we feeling ready for it? Do we feel like we needed more time off? Do we feel like it's going to be a relief when kids are finally back to school? Are we feeling a bit nervous because our kids struggle with school? Or where are we at? So it's never a bad thing to start with ourselves before we actually approach our children with the topic. Now, I would encourage you to talk to them with curiosity and ask them how they feel about it. What are they looking forward to? What are they not looking forward to? What is it about last year that they enjoyed and that they might be, wanting to see happening again this year? Do they feel rested? Do they feel worried? And just, ask these questions with openness, and be ready and willing and, okay with whatever they have to say. Because what we want more than anything is to help them be comfortable sharing and communicating with us. We'll get back to communication tips and tools, but it's really important that we allow that space for their thought. We want to know where we're at this point. We want to normalize their emotions as well, right? So kids, teens do not oftentimes think the way we do, right? Their brain is completely different from ours. Their perspective is different. Their brain development their developmental level is completely different. So they might be focusing on thoughts and feelings and situations that they worry about that really don't make sense to you, right? And you might think that they're a little dramatic, or you might just not really get it. And it's easy to jump into some sort of opinions that we may have about what they share. But what we really want to do is to normalize. Say, yeah, I can see why we would feel that way. I get it. Like, you did, let's say, experience some struggle with your friends last year. And so the unknown about how that's going to go this year can be worrisome. I hear you. And that is really good. That is powerful. Just doing that means a lot to them. Now, we want to also help them prepare to get back into the routine. We want to ease back into routine. So progressively over the next week, we would want to start seeing making some changes in our daily life that would help us get back into the routine. So, for example, if your kids have been going to sleep super late during this, over the summer, but that we know they need a good amount of sleep, which we'll again talk about a bit later. But we know sleep is important, so we want to make sure that they will be progressively going to sleep a little bit earlier. So we don't want to just be super drastic and radical, and tonight you need to go to bed at 8. But we want to say, okay, we have 1 week to get ready for this. What do we need? Where are we at? And we need to organize together. Okay, we know that we need to have all the material that is required to study and prepare, and we need to have all that stuff that is required by the school. But we also maybe need to to sit down together and say, okay, do we have the proper space to study? Do we have a quiet space? Do we is there anything that you need that would help you sort of be better organized so that you don't feel like you're falling behind after a few days because somehow you just don't have the right tools and the right environment in place? We want to also maybe encourage them to reconnect socially, right? So sometimes our kids will will have been traveling, or their friends will have been traveling, and then maybe they have not been in touch with their friends so much over the summertime. So that might also lead to a little bit of stress. Will they still have that bond that they used to have? Will their friends still like them? Maybe they've gone through some physical hormonal changes over the summer, and they might feel concerned that they will look different, or that their friends will look different, or maybe they feel concerned that their summer didn't look as amazing as other people's summers based on their social media. So helping them to reconnect socially with their friends may help ease that anxiety, just so that they know they have people to go back to, and that and to build up the excitement of meeting with their friends when they go back to school. We want to also, as part of the routine, I always put a lot of emphasis on bedtime without screens. Now, most teens I work with will definitely tell you that they really don't see any problem having keeping their phones with them in their room all night, all day. But in the field of psychology and kids development, we definitely have a very different perspective from that. We definitely, I guess that the consensus is that kids do not have the capacity, their brain is not capable yet to be exposed 24/7 to all the stress and pressure that lives in their phone. We, even as adults, are not necessarily coping that well with that. And kids definitely don't. So it's important to make sure that there are some limits. If we don't think that they are able to put it aside, then definitely it can be totally okay to discuss with them and to let them know that from now on, all phones are going to be outside the rooms by 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. So that's one thing. Again, because we want to prioritize sleep and because we want to decrease stress. Now, we also want to talk about realistic expectations and goals. We'll get back to that as to what is healthy and unhealthy pressure around academics. But we just want to start having a discussion around what's your intention this year? How would you like to do? What kind of school year would you like to spend? How would you like to feel at the end of this semester of the term? And just start discussing and reflecting on. It's just so that we know where we're at and where we meet and when we don't meet, and if their expectations are realistic or maybe not. And again, so that we have some kind of meat to have that discussion. And finally, we will want to also assess if we have some kind of balance in terms of school, work, downtime. I see a lot of kids having very, very busy calendars, very, very busy schedule with all the extracurricular activities and the school work, which is quite demanding a lot of the time, and the sports and all of that stuff. And their social life and all that. So we want to make sure that, okay, we look at what we need, right? We know we need 9 hours of sleep. We know we need some family time. We know we need some social time. We know we need some social activities or physical activities. We know we need all of those things. And if we look back at last year, for example, like what can we learn from that, and what do we maybe need to change or shift a little bit so that we are better set for success this year? And we might want to also make sure that we do regular check-ins, right? On a scale of 1 to 10 this week, how are you doing? Just have a little check-in like that, just to know, and just normalize that. And maybe say how you are doing this week on a scale of 1 to 10 as well, right? It's a family thing. We want to promote openness, well-being, and we want to be in it together as a family. Now, when they do experience stress, which we all do, there's a bunch of techniques and strategies that may be helpful for them. And not everything is not one fit for all kind of thing. We need to sometimes try different things to figure out what works for us. Some people need to listen to really loud, heavy metal music to feel relaxed. Another one might go for a run and feel relaxed. Another one might go for yoga. Another one might be doing some breathing exercises. We want to offer them options, a little toolbox of options, and allow them to explore. This is on the right here, a list of suggestions that I do encourage. So journaling oftentimes is very positive for kids to just dump everything, all the thoughts, all the worries, just vent freely without any fear of judgment on paper, ideally, the old-fashioned way. The breathing exercises, the short mindfulness practices, the visualization practice, these are things that I normally suggest when I do a lot of that with my clients, and I do send them recordings and all that of me, offering that kind of guided practice. But there are amazing apps out there, such as Insight Timer, which I love. Which offers tons of options, and it's it's a wonderful place to go to if they ever want to try that. Again, I suggest no phone before bedtime. I suggest no phone for the first hour of the day. Again, because when we are exposed to so much, all people's lives and news of the world and messages and emails and TikTok and all the things that we've missed over the night, when we're bombarded with all of that, for the first thing we do when we wake up, it's a rush. It comes our way, and it's more stressful than we may realize. It's like we start our day already with a little bit more than necessary, and so it fills our cup a little bit more than necessary, and we're already just starting the day, and there's going to be additional stress adding to the day. So we want to make sure that our battery is our cup is as light as can be when we start the day. Well, full battery with low stress. We want to encourage physical movement. Again, not everyone is super sporty, but we want to explore with them what kind of movement they are willing to do, because health is important, because the endorphins that are produced when we do move are important. So we want to just have that discussion as well to see what kind of movement they would be into. Maybe it's stretching, maybe it's yoga, maybe it's football, maybe it's dance, maybe it's Zumba. Whatever it is, we want to encourage a little bit of that. We want to also encourage staying away from caffeine and stimulants. We want to offer alternatives if they are really into that. Again, because we need to educate them about the fact that that caffeine and stimulants such as energy drinks do increase our heart rate. And when our heart rate is high, we do feel anxiety. It just goes together. Well, not necessarily anxiety, but stress. It's sort of like, it's a buzzing thing. So we want to help them understand that if our goal is to be a little bit more relaxed, having caffeine and stimulants is sort of counterproductive. So yes, this is it pretty much for this slide. Now we will talk again about this. I don't want to repeat myself, so I'm just going to, again, encourage regular breaks, sleep, meals. A predictable routine really does help reduce with stress, right? So, so we might just again want to say, okay, to normalize the fact that it's totally okay to take a break, of a 5 minutes break every 30 minutes when they study, just so that they can breathe, go get a glass of water, go outside for a minute, go and chat with their family members a little bit. We need to be mindful that our battery gets, our energy battery gets low, and the less we allow ourselves to sort of reset and recharge, the more stress we may feel. And okay, we'll talk about communication after. Model healthy coping. I love that one. I think that's really important. Again, we tend to not necessarily share with our kids what we are going through and how we're not coping and how we are coping. And I think it's really important. There's nothing better actually to do, to teach. There's no better way, to teach them how to cope with stress and emotions in general, than sharing with them and with everyone around you how you're managing. So something I would say is that, for example, you had a stressful day. You were back to back, meetings after meetings, and you at some point you just kind of felt overwhelmed a little bit. And so maybe you would say that, okay, like I realized that although I didn't have the time to do it in my calendar, I actually took up 5 minutes. I just took up 5 minutes because I could feel that I was getting overwhelmed. I would feel that I was getting overwhelmed because I could feel my heart beat a little faster. I could feel myself feel a little bit more irritated when people would come to me and ask me questions. I realized that I had not eaten my lunch, at lunch break because I was just so go, go, go. So, and then this is what I did. Or, or like, oh, today I was really stressed, and then actually I didn't cope as well as I wanted to do, and I actually lost my patience a bit, and I actually snapped. I was snappy a bit, and I realized that this is something I need to be more mindful of, and so for the next few days, I'm gonna try to be more mindful of that, and to realize to take better care of myself throughout the day, so that I don't reach that point where I'm so activated. So you can share the good and the bad, and just so that you normalize that everyone is struggling with the same things, and that there are ways to reflect and ways to respond instead of reacting. Now, food is one of the things that you do have power over as well, right? So sometimes when people experience stress, they may lose appetite a little bit, and I always say, just don't make a huge deal of it. Don't, we all need to choose our battles. Yes, they need to eat, but like maybe that a shake instead of a meal might be easier to digest. So this is sometimes something that we can offer as support when they are stressed. And yeah, I said I would come back to sleep, get back to sleep, and here we are. So sleep is just so important for kids. The amount of sleep they need is not, it's just not optional. We all need sleep, but kids, because they are growing, because they are going through so many changes, they really need more, and they need that to support their learning, their focus, their concentration, and attention, and all of that. But they also need that so that they have better resiliency to go through the emotional ups and downs that may happen in their day. So we really want to focus on that. We want to educate them about the importance of that. We don't want to lecture them all the time, but we want to have this conversation and to show that we also prioritize that in our lives. So we want to make sure that we want to suggest that they avoid stimulation of any kind. Stimulation meaning anything that is on their phone, any study, anything that require a lot of brain activity, basically, a few hours before bedtime. We want to encourage them to turn to calming activities instead, and we want them to really understand that sleep is a basic. Sleep is a non-negotiable. Doesn't matter what else is happening in the world, sleep needs to be a thing that is just part of life. It's not a reward. It's not something we get to do after we've done everything else. No, it's something that no matter what happens, we'll do, and we'll do right. Now, communication, or to do all of that without knowing how to communicate with our children is next to impossible. So we really, and a lot of kids I see, a lot of teens I see will tell me that they don't feel comfortable talking about what's going on in their mind and their heart, their life with their parents. And that's not because they have bad parents. Most parents I meet have the best intentions in the world, and they want their kids to talk to them. And so it's not a lack of willingness, but it's just, we just don't know how to do it sometimes. And we're very emotionally driven when it comes to our children. So, but the thing is that if we don't learn, they will not turn to us when they need, and then we won't have access to what's going on, and we will live completely parallel lives, and that's just not what we want. That's the last thing we want, right? So So first of all, we want to make sure that we choose the right timing. We want to talk to them when no one is hungry, no one is hangry, no one is rushing somewhere. If they're not a morning person and you try to talk to them in the morning, it's just not going to work, right? So we want to be mindful of when is the right time. Maybe you have a few minutes in the car, or you're doing a school pickup. Maybe you have time on Saturday morning when you guys are having breakfast together or lunch. So just be mindful of that. And if you're not sure what the right time is, maybe just ask them, hey, I'd like us to have a little chat. When would be the right time for you? So that's totally fine as well. And actually, they might very much appreciate that you are, open to ask them their opinion. Again, like I said earlier, we want to ask for open-ended question as much as possible. So ask open-ended question will just allow for them to expand more on their thoughts. And we want to listen more than we speak, right? A lot of time we'll ask a question, they'll answer something, and we'll jump right in with all of our brilliant thoughts, experiences, opinions. But that often sort of act as a wall between us and them. We need to listen more and to show more care and interest for what they have to say so that they can feel acknowledged, they can feel seen, they can feel heard, and they can feel more at ease and safe before we jump to the next step, which would be maybe at times to offer solutions or anything like that. Now, that's an important point. We need to ask them what they need from us in that moment. When they share something, let's say they say, oh my gosh, I had such a terrible day, that teacher was awful to me, it's super unfair, and they vent and they vent. Now, I would say, and that's something that you may want to ask anybody in your life, when they confide in you, you might want to ask your kid if they need, what they need from you in that moment is to be heard, to be held or hugged, or to be helped, which would include more of like a solution to their problem. And normally they would tell you, I just want to be heard, I just want to vent. Okay, then that's what you give them. I want to be helped. Okay, sounds good. So let's brainstorm. Let's use me as your soundboard, and let's see how we can maybe fix this. If you want to just a hug, here I am. I'm just gonna hug you and give you a little bit of comfort here. So that alone goes a long way. That might not fix everything, but it can go a long way. Now, respect their autonomy as well, right? Because sometimes they might decide to cope and to manage their struggle in a way that is in a different way from what, from the way you would handle the situation. And that's okay. We want to let them make their mistakes, learn from it, reflect, and all of that. They are at a stage where they need to learn about who they are, what works for them and what doesn't. So this is also very important as part of their development. And we want to create the ongoing ritual. Again, this is something that I said already. So it's just about making sure that regularly we check in, all right? And finally, they might not want to talk. They might not be willing to talk at times, and that's okay. We want to respect that. So we want to just say, hey, I respect your need for privacy, and you may not be ready to talk to me, and that's fine. I am here. I just want you to know that I'm here whenever you need. And there's just no pressure here, but I'm just always here, no matter what, and I want you to know that. So that's you leaving the door open. And finally, you need to stay calm. Finally, my advice here is that we need to stay calm, because a lot of things they will say might shock you, might upset you, might annoy you, might frustrate you, might concern you that, oh my gosh, like they're not thinking straight here. They're not sound, like they're so extreme, and so you might want to sort of like, your fears or your concerns for them, or your own views and your own background might sort of color your response to them. That is something we need to be really mindful about. We want to stay calm no matter what they say. So if your kids start talking to you, that's your cue. You just need to be like, okay, right now I breathe and I stay calm, regardless of what they say, because they need you to be their rock. They need you to be as steady and grounded as can be in a world where they don't understand themselves and they are questioning everything and they're confused about so many things and they have all these big feelings and these new experiences happening to them. And if they feel like suddenly you make it about yourself or that you can't handle their big feelings, they will start hiding it from you. They will just do that. This is what I see happening all of the time. Now, there are lots of words here, and I will not go through all of it, but there, I think that we can all acknowledge and normalize that we want our kids to do well in school. We want them to be successful academically. We want them to have access to all the opportunities in the world, all the better school and all of that. Some level of pressure is important, right? They still need us to give them a little kick once in a while and to know that there are some sort of expectations around academics. But we need to make sure that we do it in a way that is promoting motivation and a healthy level of stress, and not one that is overwhelming and create anxiety because they're scared of disappointing you, of upsetting you, of you withdrawing from them, of them being some punished in any way. We want to basically encourage efforts over outcomes. That's a really important thing. So we want to put emphasis on the fact that they are studying as agreed. When they come back from school, maybe they are having a little time of study. That's great. We want to just say, hey, I see you doing that, and it's great. And if they do get a bad grade, we want to be saying, hey, all right, do you feel like you did what you could? Do you feel like you did what you could to prepare for that exam? And if the answer is yes, it's like, all right, then sounds good. So I'm proud of you for that. We're not going to win them all, but we are all going to try their best. And then that's okay. That's how we learn. We want to, again, focus on all the child emotional and physical well-being in addition to the academics, right? So everything we already talked about is us showing that we care about their health and their well-being over their academic work. Now, we need to teach them that failure is an important part of life as well, right? So a lot of the time when kids feel stressed before an exam or something, I would ask them, what is your worst fear? What's the worst thing that could happen? And the answer might be, well, I'm scared that I'm going to fail. I'm scared that I'm not going to do as well as I want. I'm scared that I'm going to be super upset with myself if I don't. I'm scared that maybe you're going to be upset with myself and I'm going to be disappointing you. So, and then it's like, okay, maybe we need to reframe. Maybe we need to reframe. Okay, so what if it happens? First of all, we need to tell them that no matter what, they cannot disappoint us. We cannot. Their worth and their value in your eyes and the love you have for them is never affected by their results and their grades. You will love them and you will be there for them no matter what. So that is not something that they need to worry about. We need to make that clear. Now, their own expectations, maybe that they will fear, they will be upset with themselves and they can't deal with that. A lot of high performing, very high achiever students that I work with really can't deal with the frustration and the upset that they feel towards themselves when they fail. And that's something that often leads to anxiety. So I really want to break that down and be like, hey, we need to build a tolerance for those difficult emotions. We need to learn to be like, okay, this doesn't feel good. This is an experience I don't like, but it's also not the end of the world. This is not going to kill me. And if I don't learn to fail, I'm not going to learn how to get back up on my feet. And I'm not going to have the courage to try again and again. And I'm not going to have any opportunity to learn from my mistakes. We want to have an approach where we are even valuing failure, because no great successful person in this world has ever reached success without failing before. And we want to be like, okay, no, what we believe in this family is that we learn from our mistakes, and we don't look back at what happened and what we don't have control over and what's done already. We look at, okay, what happened here and how can we do better next time? This is our approach, and this is what we need to believe in, right? So this is the kind of mentality we want to have and that we want to promote. And again, set realistic expectations based on your child's individual abilities. That's also important because not everyone has the same talents, the same skills, the same brain. There are some kids out there who might have some learning disabilities, some maybe ADHD, maybe some, any regular difficulty in one topic, one subject, or two. So we want to make sure that we adjust our expectations and their expectations based on what we know about them. Now, the other on the other column, you will see what is, I guess, the don'ts, the don'ts of that. That's and I will just mention the second last one, reacts to poor performance with criticism and withdrawal. I think that quite often we don't necessarily realize the message we're sending. We might think that we didn't say anything, but our face might have changed when we maybe they came back and they shared something that happened to school and they got in trouble for this or that, or they got a bad grade, and our energy shift, and somehow there's some kind of a distance that they may perceive that is there, that we feel, and we might try to hide, but that is there. And that alone, that quiet disapproval can increase their anxiety. And we might just be thinking, but I didn't say anything, it's fine, but they are always looking out for your approval. They are always caring more than you may think. So it's just something, again, that I hope we can keep in mind. Now, what are the signs of poor coping or sort of mismanaged stress and anxiety? The list could be a lot longer than this, by the way. This is just one list, but it's not limited to what you see here. But I would say that if you do see frequent or intense sadness and crying and irritability, that not being linked to their hormones, right? So, for example, girls may have their periods and they might have a hormonal cycle that will impact their mood. So we might notice every month that there's a period of time where they are a little bit more sad, crying, irritable, and all that. But if we track their cycle with them, we may be able to see that it's something that happens, for that reason. So it's not the same as having, let's say that it's hormonal anxiety, and it happens in that time frame. Now, if it's not related to that, linked to that, then it might be something we need to be concerned about. Excessive worry, fears, cleanliness, would also be a sign. Loss of interest in activities they usually enjoy. They say that they normally like to go out and socialize, and now they just don't anymore. They say that they used to like sports, now they just couldn't be bothered. That's also a sign. So it's a change. It's a change that doesn't seem to be for the better, right? And also, we would want to look at excessive time spent on schoolwork. It is important as parents that we learn to say, okay, enough studying. It's 8 o'clock. You already studied for two hours. We need to move on, and we need now some downtime before we go to sleep. Some kids that are high perfectionists will often feel like it's never enough. Right? They just will want to keep going and do as much as they can. And But again, what we want to prioritize is their sleep and their ability to say, you know what, I did what I could with the time that I have, and that has to be enough. I need to call it a day. Now, excessive withdrawal and social isolation would be a reason for concern as well. It is normal for teens to want to be on their own, or to be with their friends only. But it's really important that there is still an openness to some social contact with friends, with family, that we encourage and promote and kind of force to some degree some time together as a family, right? We can't always be in our room on our phone or studying. We need to also spend some time together, even if it's time we don't really talk. Maybe if it's just that we watch a series together. There are times when we need to encourage that. If they won't even do that, that might be a reason for concern. Refusal to go to school, of course, and changes in eating and sleeping patterns. If their weight changes as well, that's something we might want to look into. If they have trouble concentrating, if they can never finish their schoolwork, if they are falling behind, if they're procrastinating all the time, that might be a reason for concern. Any negative talk as well, like, I can't do this, I can never do anything, I will never be able to do this, everyone else is able to and I can't, I'm so stupid. That kind of speech we want to be mindful of. Any change in their health, any pain, any illnesses that are happening too often, any fatigue, tiredness, low energy, those are things we want to look into. And finally, their ability to socialize in a healthy manner. So we want to, if they are oftentimes very impacted by what's going on with their peers, their friends, if they are getting into frequent conflicts and that they can't seem to resolve it properly, that's also something that I would want to bring my attention to. Now, if any of those signs last for more than a couple of weeks, or seems to be getting worse, or interfere with your child's life, it may be time to seek help from a counselor, a therapist, or a psychologist. And if your child doesn't want to see a therapist, then you can certainly reach out to a professional such as me for parental counseling. I oftentimes just meet with parents so that they can share what their child is going through and what they're going through, and I can give them and give you tools to help, even without the help of a professional. Because again, you do have a lot more power as a parent, and more of a role than you may know. You just need to get the right knowledge and tools. Now, just a little bit about me again before we get to the Q&A. Here's a little bit about me and my contact information. I am available through multiple channels: my Instagram, my website, my personal phone number as well. And I do work, I am affiliated to a clinic here in Dubai. If you do go to their website, you'll be able to directly schedule an appointment with me for yourself, for your marriage, for your kids. But if you contact me directly as well with any questions you may have regarding my services and my therapeutic approach, you are more than welcome to do that. It will be my pleasure. Now we will jump to the questions. I don't know if we have any written already in the comment box, but I will let Laura look at that and lead this part.
Great. Thank you so much for that educational session. It was definitely very useful for myself, and I think probably the best thing to know is that, each parent, I'm sure we are all trying to do our best with, working full time, looking after other children, trying to look after ourselves and our marriage and everything else. So this is a really beautiful reminder to keep in mind that although they are children, they do still really need us a lot. Teens, as they get older, they think that, they don't need us as much, but it's a nice reminder to say that they really do. So there's no questions in the Q&A, but I have a question myself, and that's in regards to after school activities. And I know as we go through, as they become older, their priorities change and they do want to concentrate sometimes more on study. But it's also like they would rather sometimes get home and relax, where relax turns into sitting on their iPad or their computer or studying. Where's the fine line? Obviously, there's sport and activities. I want my children to do sport. I really do. But I also don't want to drive there, pay for it, and then listen to them for an hour afterwards telling me how much they didn't like it. So there's kind of that fine balance between them as well. What is there any recommendations around that?
That's a good question. Thank you for asking that. The first thing that comes to my mind when you ask me this question is that I see our life, everyone's life, as a pie with different parts, right? Different parts on the pie. So I would see it, literally the shape of a pie and all the separation between, and I would want to write down all the things that I feel that I think are important for myself. And I would want to sit down and say, okay, or I would sit down with my kid and I would say, okay, how about we both write what are the components of our life that we think are important, right? And maybe you might be there to also complete what they might not see as so important. But I would include in that, like, the number of sleeping hours we think they need. We would, with the schoolwork, we would do the extracurricular activities. We would add social times. We would add family time. We would add fun times and down times. We would do some physical movement. And so we would look at, okay, where are we at right now? If I look at my pie, at my life right now, where am I at? Like, are my sports taking over like a big portion of my pie? Is my social media and my social life taking a huge chunk of my pie? Like, where are we at right now? And what do we think would be a better balanced pie? What would that look like? So let's say that right now, social life and social media and iPad and stuff is a big chunk. Well, knowing that we have to create space, to make space for all of these other things on the pie, and that there's only 24 hours in a day and 7 days in a week, we might need to recalibrate and to just change the proportion of that a little bit. So we want to just, again, encourage reflection and to be like, well, it looks like, because you're doing so much of that, you're not able to do so much of that. And so what do you say we decrease that? we do a little bit less of that and we do a little bit more of that. So it's it's and realistically I'm pretty strict because of all the studies and research that exists out there for kids and teens about social media. I'm very clear that for me, social media, for example, and the screens are not. It's not an essential. It's not a basic, right? So this is something that you get to have access to once you've made sure that you've eaten, you've done your physical movement, you've done your schoolwork, you've spent some time with us, you've attended school, you've studied, all of that stuff. It's something that comes after. It's not the thing that comes before. There need to be proper space allocated to the things that are non-negotiable for our well-being in this world. So it's really, I really just encourage this discussion, this reflection, and this balance that way. Ideally, in a collaborative way, right? It's good to invite them to think about that as well and to have them buy into that concept.
Like empower them to make those decisions for themselves as well, and kind of come up with got by guided, but also encourage them to make those decisions. Well, thank you so much for that session. It was extremely educational, and I know that everybody would have walked away with more knowledge than when they started. So thank you very much. I hope that you have a lovely week. What is left with it? And if anybody does have any questions, you know where to reach me, and you now know where to reach Emily as well. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, Laura. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.